While I was in the parking lot on the edge there by the woods, someone came over and asked me, what are you doing here? This area is closed. And I, without even thinking, just said, I'm here to represent the Bicentennial Woods. I'm just stationed here by the city to make sure that the boundary integrity remains intact and all of the work that you're doing on the road doesn't impact the biome here. And he just shrugged and walked away. And then later I heard him saying to some other, I don't know if it was a worker or his boss, and I didn't hear the first half of the conversation, but he said to the guy, yeah, that guy over there, yeah, he's just here to supervise the woods, make sure we don't fuck anything up. And they're like, okay. So I guess sometimes it pays to just let your dark side take over for just a second, because they let me go. So I've done a few miles already. And let's see the forest I'm in now. It's pretty gorgeous. As I've mentioned, this area is called Bicentennial Woods. It's in northern Indiana. And it's not the preserve that I usually hike. That one is my favorite. It's a little bit more relaxed. But this is better for training. I mean, look at these hills. This is northern Indiana, so everything is really flat. But in this area, there's some decent hills. There's a lot of rugged terrain compared to the more tepid stuff at my usual place. Usually I'd be using the trekking poles. I'm trying to get used to them. I went most of my time in the wilderness in my 20s without them. Part of it is, you're working with kids, you need to have your hands free because a lot of these kids were violent offenders, I guess is the crude way of putting it. But, they were hard kids who had had a hard life. And so it really wasn't advantageous to be walking around with potential weapons that kids could use or to keep your hands busy. But so I never believed in trekking poles until, now I'm in my late 40s. My knees are absolute garbage. And enough people on YouTube have convinced me through their videos that trekking poles really save your knees. So I got some, gave them a try, and the very first day I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But right now, I don't need them. It's kind of hard to hold the camera and the trekking poles at the same time. I don't know how you guys do it. Maybe it's because you have more fingers than I do, but probably not. It's probably you're just more coordinated. But anyways, this park starts off with one little hill, and we've got a nice little bridge. No big deal yet, but there's lots of more rugged stuff, more challenging stuff to do that's actually been the best training tool that I've had the last few weeks. So I'll show you some more of that as we get to it. Not exactly another tool for training, but this is freaking gorgeous. I love crossing. This is a second bridge. The first one is relatively small, but this one crosses a nice creek that to varying degrees is always full, it seems like. I don't think I've ever seen it totally dry. And if you follow way over there, you'll actually come across like a bog where there's tons of frogs. I might show you that in a little bit. But this creek is gorgeous. I've actually recorded a few shorts of just the sound of the water and the sight of the sun sparkling off its surface. I don't know why, but I've always loved not just moving water, but the way photons bounce off water as it moves. I just love photons in general. There's something about light and the many tricks that those individual particled waves can play. All the fun little bag of tricks that they have. But anyways, like I said, this wasn't really something training related, but it's gorgeous. And if I get to enjoy it, you should enjoy it. All right, here is an excellent tool that I've been using. Now, not only does it help with getting those uphill muscles and that uphill rhythm kind of ingrained into your body, get that muscle memory going for all the summits you'll be taking across the thru hike, or any hike you're really going to do. But this right here has a double help in that when you first start out on the AT, if you're heading Novo, I hate that term, so I'll just say northbound, you are going to first have a shitload of steps. At Amicalola, there's a big-ass flight of stairs, and the mind thinks, oh, stairs, that's easier than just climbing up a hill. It's there to help you, but if you have enough of them, it's a pain in the ass, pain in the thighs, just lots and lots of pains. So this has been fun to go up and down, and I say fun in the sadomasochistic sense. It's fun to just go up and down this. Right now I've got about 35 pounds on my back, and I'm not going to be carrying that much on trail, but I like to go overboard in training so that when I do the real thing, it feels nice and relaxed and I don't have to think about it. But going up these steps, this is just a few. You know, this is nothing numbers-wise compared to what Amicalola will be at the very beginning, but it's fun. And it's a good little taste. When you get to the top, you can go all the way back down, go back up, go back down. Spend your whole day doing just that. Or you can keep going this way, and there's a lot more fun hills, and it all loops back around anyways. It's about a 2-mile loop, so I'll show you more as we go. I love when trees just kind of insist upon themselves. You know, you've got this path, very human, very organized and deliberated. But in fact, look at that. There's like a, I don't know if that's a foundation of something, maybe a hearth from way back. But, you know, this is all very much touched by man. But then the trees are like, no, man, fuck you. This is my house. I love that. I love when nature insists upon itself. Because, you know, we're just the tiniest cog in that big wheel. And all the other cogs are much bigger, and they just say, screw you, buddy. I love that. Puts us in our place. Kind of forces us to be humbled. I think I've mentioned in past videos that my entire life has kind of been superimposed with this sense of what I've always called the feeling of an obligation to transgress. I really hate authority. I really chafe at it anytime it's imposed upon me for any reason. It's probably part of the antisocial personality disorder, but it's something that's really been a yoke around my neck my whole life. But I have one area where I've always acquiesced to authority with absolutely no question. And I probably should think about it a little bit now and then, but when it comes to nature and human interaction with it, when there is an organized body like preservationists, climatologists, all those kind of people who say, hey, you know, something needs to be kept protected from us because it's in our very nature to destroy, even when we want to create. You know, I listen to that. And I think when someone says, stay off the trail, or, you know, this trail is closed, or stay on that trail, don't go over here, stay out of there, you know, all that kind of stuff, that's not suggestions. Those are, you know, those are the types of authoritative declarations that aren't about you. And they aren't about oppressing you or keeping you in your place in a, I don't know, psychosocial sense. They're about making sure that the whole rest of the world, other than humans, gets its chance to just be. And sometimes things need to be kept intact and separate from us. So, you know, I talk a lot about fuck the man, fuck the police, fuck the system, all that crap. But when it comes to stuff out here, whether it's out here in Indiana or out here in the Appalachian Trail, out there somewhere, or out in the Pacific area, all of it, out here meaning the wilderness, that is a totally different story. Because in my mind, you know, the wilderness is the authority out here. And that is one authority that I'm not going to buck against. I recognize its dominion, and I think everyone else should too. So when something says trail closed, stay the hell off the trail. When something says stay on trail, that literally means, you know, this trail, you stay on it. Don't go walking over because you see a pretty tree, or, oh, look, there's a deer 50 feet off trail. No, if that deer wants to talk to you, he'll come over. And you'll probably be famous in a day or two when you have a talking deer. But up until that point, stay on that trail, stay off this trail. Trees like this make me wonder if they call it bicentennial woods, because this damn tree is 200 years old. Now, you know, it's probably very much that old, because, I mean, it's freaking gigantic. I've taken several steps just to come around one side of it. That's my pack bouncing off another tree. But, yeah, I mean, this is gorgeous. I wish I could capture the sheer volume of it, because it's both massive in volume and just loud in its imposition on the landscape. So yeah, this is why this has become my favorite training grounds. I still love the other place because it's so serene, but this just feels one step closer to wild, and I love it. And I have to admit, some of these tree knobs look a little vulgar, but I mean, it's all nature, right? I love the metaphor of this area right here. You've got, two roads diverged in a wood, that sort of Robert Frost idea going. But I love how both roads go uphill. And it makes you think about how, sometimes you're going to come a point in life where you do have a choice to make. And neither of the choices, or none of the choices, if you have multiple, none of those choices are comfortable and easy. And no matter what you pick, it's going to be a slog. But, nothing will happen, nothing will change until you at least make a choice. Pick a direction. It's the wonderful Above and Beyond of my favorite EDM band said, you just got to gather up all your stuff, pick a direction, and go. And I love how that really gets captured in an illustration like this, where, you don't know what's over the hill in either direction. You're going to have to climb a hill, no matter what you do. So, pick one. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking along. This little chipmunk darted out from behind the stump over there, kind of glared at me for a second, and then bolted right over here. He went into this little hole. And I guess that's just his little burrow. Maybe his whole family lives down there. I don't know. But ever since then, I've been thinking about him and kind of formulating, I guess you would call it a children's book, but it's going to cover some heady issues about man's impact on nature and little chipmunks who live in the ground in that nature. But I just love the way that as soon as I'm gone, he's going to pop his head right back out and keep doing his little chipmunk things. It's just kind of like I try to be a harmless trespasser and then leave his space as soon as possible. Back over the hill from earlier when I showed you where you had to pick a direction, this is one of those other side of the hill situations where you go through all these felled trees, then you got to go straight down. And normally I would use the trekking poles here because the downhill definitely has my knees talking to me now and then. But right now, like I said, I'm holding the camera. So once you get down to the bottom of the hill, there's this gorgeous symphony of little baby frogs, I assume. Or at least, if it's not the baby frogs, it's, like the prospective mommy and daddy frogs looking to get busy, calling to each other. Now, it was super loud last week. It was so deafening when I tried to talk about it on a video. My voice wouldn't come through. So I just said screw it, and I recorded the sound of the frogs by themselves. It was amazing, though. Let's see if you can hear it now. There's one. They're way quieter now, damn. But I mean, they were probably by the hundreds, it sounded like it was, you couldn't talk. I passed another hiker and we could barely even converse. It was so loud. I hope the mic is picking this up because it's amazing. But over there's the bog I was mentioning earlier. There's a trail that goes along the side, but that trail is closed, and you know how I feel about trail closures. So it's gorgeous down here on the other side of the hill, and you'd never notice it if you didn't climb up the hill. So many lessons. It's like, sports. People always say sports is a metaphor for life. I kind of think nature's the exact same way, in its own different but exactly same way. That's not making any sense, but you get the idea. And of course, the second I stopped to record the sounds, because they were getting loud again, and I wanted you to hear at least a taste of what I heard last week, they all shut up again. That's fine. You have the right to remain silent if you want, froggies. There's the frogs. You can kind of hear them better now. But I also wanted to see I love the way that root just kind of pops up out of the ground and goes right back in. The decay around here is gorgeous. And all the moss covering the logs. Or I shouldn't say they're logs, they're just the corpses of former mighty trees that are now giving back everything they had. It's gorgeous. There's such a cool circle of life feeling to this kind of stuff. I love this. They cut through the tree so that you can get through, but it's like, we'll just leave that last little log there. So step over a little bit if you have to. I do, because I'm a little guy. But it's just so cool down here. And the frogs are getting loud again. Come on, guys, get louder. Show the world what you can do. I'm sure the AT will be just as beautiful, probably more so in many places. But I've really come to love this place. Everyone, give all the dozens of Kermits a hand, because they performed for your pleasure. Actually, they don't even know you exist, like most of nature. So if you come across this anywhere where you live, be nice. Don't bother them. Anytime you go up a hill so that you may go down into interesting stuff on the other side, there's always another hill to climb. And sometimes they're really challenging. This is another one of those areas where usually I use the poles. But see, I'm sacrificing myself for your viewing pleasure. Actually, the truth is I'm sacrificing myself for myself so that down the road I can look back and see how I got myself prepared for the AT, because at some point I'm going to forget all this. But right now it's just too gorgeous. It's not going to leave my mind for a little while. Whew. Neat little jaunt, very short, but steep in some spots, especially without the poles. So much more. Here we go. Hey, look, it's the stars again. Them dar stars. What's the song on? I'm seeing stairs, starry-eyed surprise, blah, blah, I don't know. It's probably a 25-year-old song. And if you hated it before, my awful singing probably just made you hate it even more. And if you loved it before, I imagine you never want to ever hear it again, because your mind will associate it with my absolutely tone-deaf performance just now. But, yep, lots more stairs, like I said. And it's a good workout. It totally feels different on your knees. So when people say, oh, go to the Stairmasters at the Y, well, that's fine, but they don't exactly do both ways. They just give you the ups. But the downs feel very different. So you're going to have to do the real thing, which is great about these, or any flight of stairs you can find. On to the rest of the trail. The second half of the 2-mile loops got a riverside section that's just gorgeous. And for some reason, there's no frog sounds over here. A couple weeks ago I heard one frog all by himself. And I told him all of his buddies were having a meeting way on the other side of that hill. Now I haven't heard him since. I hear birds right now, but not that frog or any other frog. So for some reason they stay away from here. But I like to think that that one frog took my advice and hopped his ass all the way over there. But I don't know what happened. I don't think he texts me anymore, so I can't keep track of him. But anyways, yeah, it follows the river for a while. And that's fun just for the scenery itself, but also because there's a lot of sort of undulation here. A lot of, you can probably hear the gravelly sound. You know, anytime you have old streams, you get a lot of broken down rocks, and it's good training for just the more technical aspects of ankle strength. You know, you're not bouldering or climbing over tree falls or anything like that, but your foot moves a little bit. It's kind of like if you've ever walked up a gravel driveway and it just doesn't feel quite right. Yeah, if you get to follow a stream for a while, you get the same kind of feeling. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot of workout, but it's really good for your body to get used to that kind of softness with also, I don't know, it's hard to describe. There's a combination of rigidness in the tiny pebbles, but then softness in the plethora of pebbles, because they all move in their own particulate way. And I'm sure a physicist could explain it all to you, but he would probably go way over all of our heads. Or she. Oh, heard something. Where'd he go? See, this sucks for me because I have absolutely horrible vision. I mean, like, literally, it's so bad, I can't even drive. I'm basically legally blind. I can see enough to read a Kindle if the font is magnified tremendously. But other than that, I'm kind of hoping you guys get to see all the stuff that I'm missing. Or, you know, later on, when I get to watch all this, I can always pause it and zoom in, and it'll be like a whole new hike for me. But yeah, then we go back up into more hills. So many ways to challenge your body up and down here. If you ever get to northern Indiana, I highly recommend Bicentennial Woods. It's as good as many state parks as far as the hiking quality goes. Might not be as big, but it's very nice, and it's free. And if you have the balls to lie to the construction workers, you can even come in when the road is closed. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. No, I would never encourage people to do things that are wrong. That's just not my style. You can't see me, but I'm winking right now. Something really cool about this area right here. There's just like layers upon layers of trees. And the path kind of winds where they never were before. You know, like this path has been here a while. The tree fall has been here a while. But it's hard to tell what happened first, except for you can tell right here. You know, the path was here first, so the maintainers cut a way through. But I bet this right here was probably there before. I don't know, it's hard to tell. Sometimes I kind of wish they wouldn't cut through tree fall. I mean, when it's this small, you can step over that. Come on, climb over. But I don't like it at all when this kind of thing happens. You know, let nature take its course. I don't like seeing trees that are still in the ground. And it was probably dead, so they cut it off for safety reasons. But I mean, you step out your front door, you're kind of taking your safety in your own hands to some degree. So, as nice as it is for easy hiking, there's just something that bothers me on a philosophical level when you see gorgeous golden tree. I can't even tell if that's like just its standard state in the wintertime. Like what's going to happen when the summer comes. This is one of those that loses all its tree or all of its leaves when it actually gets warm, or what. But then you've got all the gorgeous stuff, and then all of a sudden it's cut off. And you know, this is probably borderline. This is probably something that might be a challenge, but you can still step over that. I always say I'm short. That's something I've never denied. Even I would not have any problem with this. So I don't understand it. There's so many hills here. The argument that, oh, it's so that the old people can get through on this path. Well, I'd like to see some old people who are doing those previous hills, because if they can do that, they can probably step over a tree. I've seen lots of people twice my age. Well, maybe not twice my age. I'm almost 50. But, you know, twice my age when I was 30. See tons of people being just as active. I mean, there's 70-year-olds who are on the AT right now. So if someone could just give me another reason why trail maintenance people do this, other than to make it easier, I'd love to know. Because it bothers me so much, and I know it probably shouldn't. It probably doesn't bother anybody else. So if you can explain this away beyond the, oh, it's easier, I would love to hear it. Anyways, on to the next tool of training. This is a good one here. It's a little hard to see, but this trail wraps up and goes all the way up over that hill and just keeps following it, but not quite parallel enough to stay flat. So it's kind of like a long graded uphill with a lot of roots on the way. And that's a good fun one because it sort of simulates some of those southern rises that you'll be doing at the beginning of the AT if you're heading northbound, where it just kind of isn't a super challenge as far as the steepness of it, but it just keeps going. So this is a good workout for that, both physically and mentally, where you just got to tell yourself, hey, one step after the other. You don't have to get to Katahdin today. You just have to get to the next shelter today. So these are good ones for that. No, this isn't a training issue, but I always used to think that I just loved visual textures. But I think what it was something I mentioned towards the beginning of the video. I just love the way photons bounce off things. You know, you've got countless billions, probably trillions of them, and they travel for millions of miles, and they just hit something just right. A few of them hit it one way, a few of them hit it another, and you get all these really cool undulations of light and color and shadow. It's just amazing. But also, I wanted to show, I love how the grain of this tree is like a spiral as you go. It just keeps twisting and twisting. That is just so cool. And it really shows up when you've got the light hitting it just right. I don't know why I love it, but it's kind of the visual equivalent of sitting next to a stream when you see something like this. Just gorgeous. I'm probably weird, but that's okay. Now this is interesting. They sort of found a compromise from what I was talking about earlier. They made it a little easier. They didn't totally clear it. So I don't know how to feel about that one. But again, look at the patterns in there. The way the light's hitting that. That's so cool. I just love that. You know, even in decay, nature is just fascinating. Humans spend so much time and effort to hide away from decay and to hide decay away from ourselves. But, you know, it's happening right before your eyes everywhere you look, even outside of the woods. It doesn't have to be some sad, almost shameful thing done in private, done behind closed doors and in hushed tones. It doesn't have to be commoditized and sold at thousands of dollars just to avoid it for enough years that the survivors forget that it's even there. I don't know why it makes me think of that, but I guess that's the other reason why I don't like when they cut all the way through and just clear it out for our paths. Like, you know, who are we to desecrate the corpses of the wild just so we can have an easier walk? I don't know. I'm just blabbering. Interesting compromise, I think. The saying goes, if you come to a bench somewhere on the trail, on the Appalachian Trail, you have to sit on it. But this isn't the Appalachian Trail yet, and I have miles to go before I sleep. It all comes back to Robert Frost again. But yeah, this trail doesn't really need my butt. So, I mean, not trail, good Lord. This bench, trail doesn't need my butt either. But neither does that bench, so on we go. All right. Now, people, promise me, and promise yourself, that anytime you're out in the woods, you've got a small, like, you know, grocery bag, one of those little plastic grocery bags that everyone uses under their bathroom sink as a garbage bag. Bring one of those. Because, you know, some people just don't give a damn. So, like I said, promise me and promise yourself that you will give a damn. You'll bring a little baggie and you'll pick this shit up. Because it's small, but I mean, if every single person left something small, you know, I mean, you've heard this since grade school. It just pisses me off. So yeah, if people aren't going to pick up to themselves, someone has to do it. And why don't you just, be the one? Because I think the people who step over this and walk on are almost as guilty as the people who dropped it. But not quite. Got another good downhill. And there's some roots here. It's a good workout now. See, roots like this, a lot of times when you're going uphill or even on a straightaway, you notice them, you step over them. They're not a huge obstacle. When you're going downhill and you start getting the momentum going, sometimes you're not quite looking at where your feet are, you're looking at maybe 5 or 6 steps ahead, because that's just natural. You feel like you're in a flow. But I hit something like this at the other park that I like to hike at, but I was watching a deer. I wasn't even paying attention. I was watching a deer run across the trail, and I hit that full toe. I mean, my whole boot slammed into it, and since I wasn't paying attention, I went flying. And if I can figure out how to insert a photo here, I took a photo of what happened to me, because I fell straight. I mean, I was airborne for a second. It probably would have been funny if I wasn't the one doing it. But went airborne, landed on my face. Luckily, my sunglasses are strong enough. They took the brunt of it. But it looked for a second like I broke my nose. Like I almost broke my camera there. But all of it because I was going downhill and wasn't paying close enough attention. So everyone thinks the downhill can be, a way to relax and draw back a little bit of energy, but mentally you still need to pay attention, both for footing's sake, keeping your knees from being too overextended, but also just because if you fall, that inertia is going to carry your ass and your face and your nose into the ground, and nobody wants that. So this is about the end of the full loop. We've done a few miles. I've talked forever, and that's the tour. So I think I'm going to end the video with some final thoughts, as Jerry Springer would say. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I'll probably find some place by the river. We'll have a quick little chat before I hit the AT next week. Yeah, baby. I'm very excited. So this will be the last preparation video. Once I finish up here in a little bit and talk to you by the river, that'll be the last thing that I upload to this account until I am probably in Atlanta waiting to head north towards Amicalola in about a week. So as far as that goes, I will finish up here and then peace out for a week. All right, to close out the video, I am surrounded by gorgeousness, obviously. It's kind of funny being the little lump that is surrounded by diamonds, but that's okay. I like it. I like being in rooms with people smarter than me. I like being in spaces with things prettier than me. It's a good feeling. But got a week left. Doing a few more days of training, like maybe 2 more after this, and then spending the last 3 days really relaxing, letting my body tighten up and heal those deliberate bits of damage that you do to your muscles to make them stronger. Spending some time with my sweetie, because frankly, she's even better than the trail. So if I have to be away from her for very long, I'm gonna have to, save up all those moments, and they're gonna have to last me. But I'm excited. I'm finding myself nervous. I'm not someone who gets nervous. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of I guess to put it bluntly, I don't have a lot of emotions. I'm a very excitable person, but I don't get nervous or worried. But as I've gotten older, I've started to feel, especially with something like this, where it's like, wow, this is a huge undertaking, and I'm not young anymore. My body's falling apart, my mind's falling apart, and it's kind of a now or never situation with this, but it's also stuck in the back of my mind. Did I wait too long? Should I have done this, back when I was in my 20s? Physically, I'm going to be able to do it. I don't think that my body's too far gone. My willpower is freakish. I mean, I've been called a freak for many things in my life. And I was called a freak even in kindergarten. But parts of my life, when the word freak came into it, it was more of a compliment. Friends would say, "Oh God, it is freakish that you can just keep going," or "God, it is freakish how much you can carry." I mean, usually it's all physical stuff, which is ironic because throughout childhood I was called a freak for being physically. Well, I mean, you can see me. I look like a troll under a bridge. But I took ownership of the word, the way a lot of people who are beat down with the issues of other people and their narrow-mindedness usually can be. But I've owned it, and I know that of all the freakishness that I have, my willpower is definitely the top. And that's what's going to get me through this almost 2,200 miles. So, like I said earlier in the video, I'm going to have to keep reminding myself, you don't have to get to Katahdin today. You just have to get to the next place to stop, the next shelter, the next tent site, whatever. And that's, my wife said earlier today, it's kind of like how addicts have to do it one day at a time. Those of us who are addicted to hiking, this insane line of cocaine trail that the AT is, you just gotta one day at a time. And one of the things that's going to make all of that palatable step after step, day after day, is beautiful stuff like this all around me. And something I'm going to close out with is this. You'll see. That's it, baby. Spring has entered the chat. And it looks like it has a lot to say. How cool is that? But yeah, spring has entered the chat, and so have I. So, like the channel says, game on, bitches. Game on.